Hey there, everybody, and welcome to Work Should Feel Good, the show where your career growth meets your real life. I'm your host, Diana Alt, and today my guest, Kelli Hrivnak, is spilling the insider info tea about the life of a recruiter, especially agency recruiters, so you can be better prepared for your job search. Kelli is the founder and principal recruiter for Knak Digital, a certified women-owned recruiting firm in Maryland. She uses her extensive experience in talent, marketing, and digital strategy to help small and mid-sized businesses hire tech, creative, and go-to-market talent. Welcome to the party, girl.
Hey, thanks for that lovely intro. Thanks
I
for
know.
having me.
You gave me some stuff, and I always like to tweak it because, hey, why not? You know.
I know.
I heard Life of a Recruiter, and I'm like, I'm not a huge Swiftie, but I like the riff on Life of a Showgirl, so here we are.
I know. I love it.
I always love to get a little bit and spend a few minutes on origin story for people. Mm-hmm. And so many people that are in recruiting came up through HR, or, they're an agency recruiter that started in corporate and decided they wanted to work with more than one company. You do not have the normal background. We need to talk about wine sales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how you got into that, and kind of how that prepared you for what you're doing today. Like, what was that winding path, and why was it good for what you're doing today?
Yeah, it's almost like a who do you know situation of, I was in restaurant management actually before wine sales, and the owner's husband had a distributing company, and I said, kind of raised my hand that, hey, I'll go, start pushing product. So
did you like wine? Were you a wine girl?
I mean, it was let's take it back to the time. And what was that movie? Was it Sideways? Like, yes. Wine was like cool back then too. Mm-hmm. Like, it was just, everybody was very much into it. So, I mean, I'm still not the can smell vintage. Like, there are people beyond that definitely have their expertise, but I knew enough, and there's a lot to learn regionally. Yes. I mean, it's just a lot of knowledge, but did that for probably 2 years. And, I guess I never would consider myself the sales type. I'm just not. I'm an introvert. I'm very much just not the salesy type, but have kind of thrown myself in these situations where, hey, essentially I'm selling people. I mean, there's a little piece of that, right?
For essentially, sure. I say that all the time. I say that job search is a sales and marketing exercise. 100%. I could argue your whole career is a sales and marketing exercise, because you have to sell your ideas every day. But if you don't have a sales lens on when you're job searching or when you're marketing people, you're going to have trouble.
Oh, yeah. It's all about marketing and positioning. I mean, I guess, essentially that was a piece of that, is selling and marketing wine to different customers, restaurants, the guy who worked at the liquor store who just wanted the Moscato. It's just different people needed different products. And so definitely learned to kind of calibrate to different personality styles, I think. And that I was a bartender for years, and that was something of you learn to shoot the shit with people, and it definitely,
make them feel heard.
Yeah. I mean, right. I think it's just that ability to carry conversations with people. And I think that carry over into recruitment, of that curiosity of just asking questions. Right. And, there's always been, what's that ICP or, persona of the best recruiter? And, what does that soft skill hire look like? And I think a lot of that is being genuinely curious. I'm the person who's what does my neighbor do? I'm going to go look up what they do professionally, or what is,
I'm the same way. I am that way with Uber drivers, which it's interesting, because I've talked to some people that I have friends that have done Uber, and then I've gone all meta with Uber drivers before, where I'll ask them, well, what did you do before you were a driver? Do you drive full time? All those questions. And I'm like, do you get sick of being asked those? And they're like, we get asked them all the time, but you're the only one that sounds like you're actually interested in it.
Oh.
And I said, well, I'm a career and executive coach. So basically, I don't give a crap what somebody does. I care about how they got there and why they do or don't like it. So, so you could help them figure out whatever's next. I have full on coached from the back seat before.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is genuinely interesting to hear where people have been and how they got to where they got, right? You see so many nonlinear paths I mean, it's
I wrote a blog post a few years ago that basically the thesis of it, it wasn't said exactly the same, but this way, but the thesis of it is the career ladder is dead. There's no such thing. We have career chutes and ladders, or like a jungle gym now. It's not a ladder. And I like that a lot because too many people hit the ladder. When they were climbing the ladder was on the wrong damn wall. So they spent 20 years trying to reach this holy grail thing by working up through a domain. And they're like, this is kind of terrible. Tired of it. Yeah.
I think I'm seeing a lot of that of people, I'm not like midlife crisis, but a lot of people, I'm in my 40s, and a lot of people I talk to are kind of, mid-career thinking like, is this what I really want to continue to do for the back half of my career? And
that's the largest amount of people. Like I worked with some, I haven't worked in this time where the job market's been weird for a couple of years. I haven't worked with as many people that are just trying to do a pure career transition. I've had more people that are like, okay, I want to do a job search to a place with potential. I'm not trying to pivot right now. But no matter what stage people are in, it feels like everybody's gotten in their 40s to this. Is this all? Like, is that all? Is that it?
Yeah.
Is this all? Isn't there more than this?
I know.
And so trying to help them figure out like what's making that feeling happen, which it's so funny how just the smallest changes can make a big difference.
And it doesn't have to be like a career pivot, but it does determine like what's going to be meaningful to you.
Yes. And I think that one of the, I do not even remember who said it, but I saw a piece of content a couple of years ago that I loved, because one of the things that I don't love is the follow your passion stuff that people say. Yes. And there's a few reasons for it, but one that is not talked about enough is particularly applicable to women. And that is that women already are painted with this brush of being overly emotional or what the hell ever. And so injecting the term passion in does not help elevate a woman as a serious professional in the eyes of a lot of people, including other women. And when I heard that, and then I reflected back to every time that someone said, I appreciate your passion, Diana, but I realized, passion actually is often a liability. And so that content that I watched said, why don't you reframe it as meaning? If you reframe what you're doing as meaning, it is more professional. It's less subject to whims. There's a more pragmatic thing to it than follow your bliss. So yeah, I really like that. Well, you're a recruiter. I think you're my first like active full-time, this is what I do all the time recruiter I've had on the show, which is impressive because it's a year. Yesterday I streamed the very first episode of the show. And I've had people with recruiting background that do other things now, but we're going to talk nuts and bolts because, oh my God, does anybody know how recruiting works?
Everybody thinks they do.
That part. They think they do. Do they?
Sure do. And everybody can do it too, actually.
Oh yeah, anyone can. All you need to do is just set up a Google Voice account and you're good.
That's right. I mean, all you do is just like go find people and send the resume. Any idiot.
You don't have to do anything. It's the same bullshit they say about realtors.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, it's the barrier to entry, right? It's
the barrier to entry is one thing that I was a server for a couple summers in college. And the thing that I came out of it with is the understanding that it's not that hard to be an adequate server, but it's really an art form to be a great server. And I think realty, like real estate agent and recruiter, are the same way. So all these relational things. One of the things I want people to do, there's an awful lot of people out there, especially the ones that have they haven't looked for a job in 10 plus years. They haven't looked very many times. they really just don't actually know what recruiters do. And they definitely don't know the difference between a third party recruiter and an internal recruiter. So can you break down a little bit the difference between those two things for us?
Yes, I'll start with internal. So internal recruiter, talent acquisition might be their title, is they are working internal for one corporation, one brand. So there could be, maybe it's a small business, there could be just one internal recruiter, talent acquisition professional who's handling all like inbound applications coming in. So if you're applying, they're reviewing all of that. And then they could be very much actively sourcing, but they're just managing all the applicants and recruiting efforts for that one brand. Now, let's throw Amazon out there. It could very well have, various talent acquisition teams under different divisions. So throwing an arbitrary number of like 200 talent acquisition professionals under that brand. But I think that the key thing to understand is that they could be supporting different managers and different recs or requirements for that company. They really, I'm kind of speaking, they might be made aware of some opportunities as they might be some growth mode coming up, but they are typically only recruiting for roles that are active and budgeted within that brand, if that makes sense.
You worked internal before you were an agency recruiter?
I worked embedded. So I've worked internally.
Which is the same thing. It's like you're a contract. It's like being a contract software developer. Right. So when you think about internal recruiting, what are recruiters usually measured on when they're an internal recruiter?
Yeah.
How do they know they're doing a good job?
Yeah. So they usually have different metrics, like time to fill is a big one, right? So,
and that's from when it's posted to when the person onboards,
or is it when the person, right? Correct. Because time to hire, time to fill. So, right, a difference of start date and when the offer letter came in. So very similar metrics, right? But I think that's a big one as far as teams want to know, what's taking so long to hire. Ideally, they want to keep that number down and they're analyzing that. There could be some sourcing ratios as far as, how many people are they reaching out to? Is it 500 engineers? How many people are replying to them? How many people are interested? So kind of measuring as far as just market and how many people are responding.
It's kind of like proactive, reactive. We're going to talk about sourcing a little bit more in a few minutes, but so sourcing being the recruiter is actively out there trying to find the right person versus so-and-so has applied, right?
Exactly. So, thinking in a marketing terms, it's outbound and inbound. So, which, maybe some internal teams are, I think it depends upon the brand and volume too, but, some internal teams might, and I think that that's the big difference I've noticed is when you are internal, you do have to be managing a lot of those inbound applicants that are coming in. So a large portion of your time is monitoring and hopefully getting back to those applicants. So,
and it's really important to note too. So for anybody listening to this, like that time to fill metric, when a company is doing it well, they are having they're measuring it for everybody, but they're having different benchmarks or expectations for different types of roles. You don't expect to fill your CFO or your principal software engineer in the same amount of time that you're filling like customer support analysts too. Right. Because some of those are more higher volume, easier to find qualified candidates than others. So how are internal recruiters paid?
They are typically—
You got to talk about the money. This is the thing that people don't understand. So how are internal recruiters usually paid?
They will usually have a base. Sometimes there might be bonus if they're hitting like, like any other, average
W-2 employee.
Exactly. So there might be some incentives. It's not heavily, in opposition to the agency recruiter where, and again, there's different models out here, but I think, from retained to contingency to, retained is kind of the same, but the classic like headhunter agency model has been like a percentage based on a salary. So it is really more, it's, I think, more commonly known that typically search firms, good recruiters are making typically more money.
Let's talk for a second. Let's do this for people like they're 5. So when we say agency recruiter or third-party recruiter, which is what Knak Digital does, break down like I'm 5 or like someone in the audience is 5 because I'm at least 8.
Okay.
What that means and
like
when
who they are
engage.
and what they do, right? So an agency recruiter is a consulting firm, right? So companies are coming to them. Typically, these agencies and search firms should have an area of expertise, right? And this could be very specific to maybe type of roles, as they do only 100% sales roles. Some could be technology, some could be biotech, so very industry specific. And again, some get very niche down as far as the type of roles. Some could be specifically, we just fill, in Tampa, Florida, or whatever it might be. So, which is helpful for anybody out there going to look for a recruiter because of these specializations. And so how they work is companies will come to them for whatever reason, is they just maybe don't have enough bandwidth internally within their internal TA teams, or there are many circumstances where confidential searches, executive level searches need to be conducted, and the internal team can't do it for confidentiality reasons, or just they don't have the expertise to recruit at an executive level. So, I've conducted many, replacement searches with NDAs because they are looking for basically replace underperformers. But that's getting a little bit into the weeds. So that being said, is those companies will pay these third parties a fee to hire top talent for whatever positions they're looking
for. And so there's a few things because I've engaged recruiters to help hire, and I have been hired through a recruiting agency for contract and for full-time. So as a human, I've done several of these different things. And so something for people to note is when you're a full-timer getting hired through an agency, it's usually a percentage of the fee, and it's often not paid until 90 days in, right? Or if you get paid, what is your arrangement at Knak? Because I know a lot of people that are either they didn't get paid till 90 days after the start date, or they got paid, but there was a clawback period. So if the person quit or got fired within 90 days, then what does it look like in your world, or what do you see?
I mean, payment, I've seen anything from, ideally I'm at 30, but I've seen anywhere from start to probably 90 within my network. There is the clawback, but it is like a guarantee of
basically a 90-day. That's another way to look at it. That's how I've heard other people say it. So what I'm trying to get across to the people that are listening is it can be high risk, because if people are going to flame out, they are going to flame out in the first 90 days. It can be really hard to find people, especially for complex tech roles or executive roles. And so when you go in, or when you're hired through an agency, if you leave within 90 days, that recruiter that brought you in probably has to go do the whole process again for no compensation. I'm not saying you should feel bad about that if it was a bad fit, but that's just how the money works. There's a perception that you all are just printing money hand over fist for doing nothing, and it's not true.
Right.
So another thing that I learned about whenever I was a contractor is how that works. So the consultant contractor person will get paid a rate, let's say that's $75 an hour. And then the staffing firm that placed them for that contract might get paid $125 an hour. And then that $50 gap runs the company. It's split up in between the recruiters and the business development people and whatever else is going on. So they're making their pay off of how many hours you work and how long you're on the engagement. So that's how that works.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was just talking to somebody who was approached by probably 9 recruiters within 24 hours, because I'm sure the job went out in a vendor management system, and then all the recruiters were out. And so, and I guess to your point about the margins, right? And so he was approached with the same job with a variety of like different rates. And I'm like, I guess like what everybody's charging for markup, which is wild. But
I have to tell you the wildest story about that. So years ago, this is over 10 years ago, I was doing a contract project management job at AMC Theaters, which is headquartered here in Kansas City. And I don't feel bad about naming names because like everyone that I worked with is gone. So I'm just Joe Schmo, project manager. I'm working in the theater systems area. And there was like another that was the IT PMO. So I reported to a different executive. And there were a boatload of us all sitting in this one table. Like we didn't have nice queues. We were like, this was like a cattle call, a whole bunch of project managers all sitting next to each other that were all contract. And somewhere along the line, someone tripped across what was effectively a rate sheet for every project manager in the IT PMO. And so it had the name of the person, the company they went through, and the billing rate. And we're all sitting there, and it went like wildfire. Oh, and there was companies getting paid like 140. There was companies getting paid like 105. Every single project manager on that list made like within $6 an hour of each other.
Oh, really?
Yes. That was it, because most everybody was like a 8 to 15 year, kind of like mid senior level person. People were pissed. I wasn't on the list because it was the other department. And I knew everything because my firm that I went through was 100% transparent. This is what we're billing. This is what we're going to make. The other ones hadn't. I just quietly sauntered over to my friend that I knew worked on the SharePoint team. And I told them, you really might want to secure that.
Oh
you might want to lock down that SharePoint project because this is what's happening over here. And then that person is like, oh my God, I have to go tell the PMO director.
Yeah.
But there was some people that immediately started looking because they were very senior, very good, deserved more money. Mm-hmm. And they got told, well, we just can't get you. We can't. And it was the worst offender was the highest rate.
I believe that. And it was
they had a giant fancy building that they didn't need. And I worked for a company that was remote first. And so they were able to be more affordable to the client because they weren't paying for a freaking building. Anyway, wild. There's another term that gets thrown out a lot that is full desk. So what is a full desk recruiter, Kelly?
Yeah, I know it's funny because I've always been full desk. Full desk is basically you are working directly with your clients. So the hiring managers, I guess there's two sides of it. I guess
that again, who is the client?
Yeah.
Who's the client?
The client is the company that is paying you a fee.
Thank you. It's not the candidate.
Yes.
We care about the candidates. We get paid by the clients. Okay, continue.
Yes. So there's that client facing piece, working with, strategizing. And then the other half is just recruitment and sourcing. So the candidate side, as far as going out, being that operator, sourcing, going and finding the talent. I've always done all of that. So what I still do is work with my clients directly. And then I'm going out and sourcing and talking to the candidates and presenting them. But there are many agencies where that is split up, and you might have one person who's working directly with the client as like an account manager. And then you have people kind of working more in the back end doing just the candidate side, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does. And I know a couple of people here in the Kansas City area that are leaders in recruiting firms. One of my good friends owns one. And he said that one of the most important things to know that you have a healthy recruiting firm is that the account manager and the recruiter are getting paid the same money, the same percentage.
Yeah.
That's a model. He said, that's how you know that it's really a partnership. And it's not, the recruit, because a lot of the bigger shops, like the recruiters are treated like they're almost clerical. They're not treated like a respected professional. And if you ever want to get respect or compensation, you have to go to the account side. So I thought that was a really interesting thing he said. So let's see. we covered some of this stuff. Let's talk sourcing, because it's a word that when I started my career in like 1998, 99, we didn't hear about that word. I started hearing it out loud from people maybe 10 years ago. What the heck is sourcing? Is it something, it sounds like something that both internal and agency recruiters would do, but it's a little mysterious of a word. At least it was when I first heard it. What does it mean?
Yeah, I don't know if it was kind of more of an underground, and so what it means is it's really the research and identifying potential personas, ICPs, people who could be a fit for whatever position you're looking for. So sourcers kind of traditionally are doing more of that research of finding those people. And yes, like you can use internet websites, but it's also, I mean, the scrappy sourcers, I'm biased because I'm in the tech arena, but they're, scraping Reddit or GitHub or coding repositories and really like going deep in the interwebs to find these people besides just LinkedIn. Traditionally, I think they typically have not been doing the actual outreach and conversations with the potential prospects. So I think maybe in some teams, the sources would work with like a recruiter, and maybe a recruiter does that more formal screening. How that's structured now, very much could be an all-in-one. I think now, especially with AI tools, that they're kind of thinking sourcing is going to go extinct per se, because there's a lot of tech tools that can do a lot of that sourcing and research now. We'll see, but
it's going to be interesting to see how that evolves, especially it's like handoffs, like recruiting timing is everything. Yeah. It's kind of like job search timing is everything. You're in a job search for 8 months, and then all of a sudden, bam, 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 found the thing, applied, interview, offer can happen for people. And if you don't answer the call, then they're going to go to the next one that they found on their list, and maybe you're not considered. So I think that all the handoffs, we're going to be thinking differently about handoffs, which is a rabbit trail. That's my systems brain showing. When you think about sourcing, so I'll tell y'all, Kelli and I actually recorded a video a few weeks ago that was, I requested this from her because she came into my client community about 1.5 years ago and did this, where basically she showed us exactly what she does in detail in LinkedIn to search for people and do the sourcing side of her job. I'll make sure that that's linked to this video on YouTube so that you can find it, and I'll put it in the show notes. But at a higher level, so we don't redo that 30-minute video, what are some of the things that you are looking for that make someone sourceable, for lack of a better word? If you got given I need a B2B SaaS fintech senior program manager, like, what are you doing to find that person? What makes it instantly obvious that someone is going to be a good person to reach out to?
Yeah. And, a lot of that has to do with who we're working with. And listen, at the end of the day, like, I can try and persuade people, like, we should look at these profiles, but a hiring manager is always going to have, like, this is ideally who we want to target. Right. And so that's where we start, that's the profile that they want to see. And it could very well be like, to what you had said, if it's a SaaS company, hey, we need to hire somebody who's worked in the SaaS company before. So thinking B2B too. Now, I can put in those keywords, right? And assuming I'm using different sourcing tools, I'm just going to throw out LinkedIn because it's always so popular, right? But not all people will optimize their LinkedIn profiles with B2B SaaS. So you have to start thinking a little bit more creatively as far as, well, maybe what competitors do they work for, right? So starting to go build out a list of companies that maybe, if it's in with proximity, and if I have to hire, in the DC area, I'm going to know who those competitors are. So starting to list all those companies and try source talent out of those companies.
So if I flip it back, so that's what you have to do. If I flip it back around and I'm thinking like a candidate, what I'm hearing is, be up to date in all the places that you want to have a profile, be accurate, make sure that the company names that you worked for are there unless there's a damn good reason not to. Stop putting stealth on every startup and thinking it looks cool. It doesn't look cool. And then listing things like the industry, making sure that you're saying that you worked on the B2B product versus the B2C product. That kind of thing will help you when you go do your search, right?
Correct. So as much as like soft skills is kind of a stupid terminology for it, I will tell you, never in my life am I looking for like Googling and searching like communication skills, or no, I'm not looking for that. That more of those, soft skills are going to be vetted during the interview process. What I could very well be looking for is more of the hard skills, technology, platform. So of course, include those.
So hard skills and industries are going to pull into searches. And then when you get to the point where you actually care enough to open up the profile, that's when some of the other things start to matter. But no one ever, like, I think saying communication skills is dumb. Like, to me, that's a show and tell thing. But if you're going to do it, like, they care a lot more about the fact that you worked on a project of a similar scope. You worked on a $5 million program portfolio. Exactly. And they need someone that's worked in $3 to $10 million. Like, that kind of thing is needed. So when you hear resume writers and career coaches and people say, quantify things, we're not just saying put any old damn metric on there. We're asking for context so that Kelli finds you and then says, oh, this is my person. When you listed, you had a $5 million portfolio and the client asked for a $3 to $10 million portfolio that they've worked with.
Yes.
So,
I mean, that's always a big one, is like budgets, project sizes, at least, be including those metrics. Because
how does mass apply? How is living in the age of mass applying changed sourcing?
Oh, it's changed sourcing. That's interesting. I would say just the mass applications. I think it's, listen, I keep hearing that, and I've even heard it from some internal teams, that because they're getting crushed with so many applications, that teams are starting to rely more on outbound sourcing. So not only outbound sourcing, but referrals, which, listen, I could
like real referrals, not bullshit referrals.
Well, I know that's a whole different conversation as far as
you can come back someday and we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Listen, like, when done right, they can work. But I think just because of the overwhelming amount of volume, that being said, listen, I've never had to go through thousands of inbound applicants. So I can bang out, I have 400. I can get that done, within a couple hours if I really focus and batch that. So it can be done. But otherwise, I think, whether they're just not getting the right applicants, but I think that there is going to be a little bit more of a swing towards internal and, external agency recruiters have always been really great at sourcing, but kind of relying more on sourcing just, from a time perspective, especially.
I've anecdotally heard a few people that are agency recruiters say that the impact of high volume of applicants going directly has had the inverse impact that they expected. They worried it was going to harm their business. And in some cases, it actually made their business better because the signal to noise ratio sucks so much on the people that are applying. So I have one of my friends that is in this lane. He says he regularly gets, 200, 300, 400 candidates, and 90% of them won't meet the basic qualifications, let alone all the extra stuff. What are you observing when you see high volume come in?
I think it always depends on the role, right? But I think that's always been a problem. I think we're just seeing it like amplified now, and especially with the tools that you're getting more who are not qualified. But
that's what I was going to ask when you said it's amplified, because it would be one thing if you used to get 50 and 20% were good, and now you get 500 and now 20% are still good. But some of what I've heard people experience is that, they're getting 500 and now 5% are good.
And I think that that's true, because the auto applies are just like adding more layers of people who are not qualified, where it's just less friction. It's easier for people to do now. So
don't use an auto apply tool, guys. Please don't. Well, it's not good for you.
Like companies, like, what are you doing? Like, also, like, employers need to take a little bit of the heat and start designing smarter applications.
Well, I'll tell you what they're doing, and I don't know if it's the right way. The thing that I'm hearing more and more of is deliberately adding friction to the process.
Which I kind of love. I mean,
I kind of like, I don't always like how they're doing friction. Like, please don't make people record a video. Like, that's
okay. So that friction I don't love. I love a couple open-ended questions.
I love that.
Throw two of them in.
I love that. And that is where, like, if somebody is kind of passive and they're like, oh, my pal said there's an opening, and I'm like, maybe I'll throw my hat in the ring, and then there's 3 essay questions and they don't want to do it. Like, that to me is working as intended. But yeah, I think that we're going to see more friction. And I've also seen more, I've had a few clients and people that I just have known, because everyone knows I'm a career coach, that have sent me postings that are starting to say, here's what the process is. Like, in the posting, I wish everybody would do that. You're going to do this screening, and then you're doing this test, and you're going to do this and this. And they will have early on some pretty onerous take-home stuff that they list. And they're hoping that people will opt out if they're not serious. So I don't know. I think all of that has existed too, but I'd like people to be more open about it, because it sucks when you customize a resume, spend an hour applying, and then find out that you have to do a project that you don't have time to do. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like I see a lot of the tech companies that are outlining, hey, listen, like, this is what it looks like, step 1, 2, 3, and 4, which if you're not on board with an assignment, like, if you have an assignment, you should include that up front just so people can opt out.
Yeah, you definitely should. You definitely should. One thing, so we talk a lot, there's been a word that has been coming up a whole lot lately is signal. And so how are we signaling to the world that we're ready for the thing? And when a lot of people talk about it, they're talking about more than just you have the right words in your profile. Are there any things that you look for to see, maybe this person both has the right profile and they're worth reaching out to me because reaching out to, because they might actually be ready to take action? Does anything come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, when I think about how I kind of approach, it's funny, as the Aaron Riska, I think, had made a comment, a post about a week ago. And I think this is looking at sourcing too, but typically, like, not to approach somebody who's been in a position for a year or less, because in theory, like, and this is just current tenure as far as assuming, well, they've been there for a year, like, they're probably still figuring things out, right? So yeah, sometimes there is a little bit of eyeballing, like, well, maybe they've been there 3 years. They got that 3-year itch that they're ready to go. So, I mean, sometimes you're even just eyeballing patterns of tenure, and maybe.
Oh, that's a really good point. If you open somebody up because they match on profile and they seem to move every 3 or 4 years, and they're 3 years in, that feels riper than a year in. That makes a lot of sense. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's a weird signal, but just something I think that some recruiters take into account is just eyeballing that. I mean, there's even just other, you catch word that a company's going through a merger and acquisition, and there could be, maybe a company is returning to go back into office. So kind of thinking as far as, like, you want to go target some people that might not be too happy right now because of these changes or things that aren't stable. So I think just in general, like, keeping in touch with any news that's going on in the market, and some companies that might be having some shakeup where the employees just might not be stable. I mean, I'm really throwing some random ones out there, but let's say, like,
I think it's important. And what's interesting to me is I'm in Kansas City, and Cerner Corporation is a healthcare IT company that got bought by Oracle a few years ago. And a lot of people, and they've had some significant layoffs in the Kansas City area out of what is now called Oracle Health. What's really interesting to me is that I feel like the less experienced people I knew that were recruiters were immediately trying to dial in on the people that got laid off. And that the ones that had been around for a while were like, no, 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 no. We're going to go find the high performers that didn't get laid off because they're good and they probably are pissed because they feel like this is unstable now. So 100%. Looking at both sides is really good. You don't just have to look at, hey, we got a kitty in the picture.
I know.
I like when pets visit the podcast.
Yeah.
It's always fun.
I'm sure he'll be back.
I have a rule with clients that if their pet walks into the room when we're having a session, that I have to meet the pet. Same thing for children. Right. So let's talk. I got a little section. I want to talk about a few different things that we hear a lot of scuttlebutt about. Usually I do this when I hear about some of these again, but I want to get your takes and let's get some real information for people. Yeah. And then we're going to have a lightning round and go on with our Friday afternoon. We're recording on a Friday afternoon. Yay. So the first thing is backdoor references. You and I had this on the schedule already, and then we connected earlier this week because you posted about a backdoor reference and LinkedIn went wild. So talk to us about what a backdoor reference is and what's your take on it? Let's talk about how we should think about this.
Right. So the definition of a backdoor reference is, typically candidate provides their nice, tidy little list to an employer. It says, hey, listen, call these 3 people. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Backdoor is when hiring manager does their own research and will go identify somebody who this candidate has probably worked with in the past without their knowledge and contact them to gain any intel about their performance and character. Okay. So,
because everyone knows that the people on the tidy little list are just going to say nice things 99.9% of the time.
Correct. So, very, very rarely am I told by hiring manager, oh, hey, this is what I'm going to go do. And then off, listen, to be honest, they're going to do whatever they want to do to begin with. Even if I tell them, listen, this is not ethical. And that's, I think, obviously where there's a fine line right now is that it is unethical because, and I think there's a bigger conversation here to be had, that this person is not aware that the person is doing this. And they, there could be different situations that could have gone on in that environment, personality mismatches, who knows, where that could be a very subjective reference. My argument is really coming back to the core of this is really, what kind of questions are being asked to all references? Because if you're just saying, hey, listen, would you work with this person on a scale of 1 to 10? You need more context. Why do you think that way? Where did they work on?
I'm going to tell you what, I've been called multiple times for backdoor references. And before we were even calling them backdoor references, I've been called and I've never had someone call me and just say, would you hire this person again? They've asked for more information about what they were like to work with. And, I will share, and I don't lambast. I'm not going to screw anybody over.
Yeah.
But I feel like those conversations were more meaningful than the official reference checks that I've had people call me for. And I don't mean like the official where you call the old company and they just say dates and title and can you get hired? I'm not talking about that. You can get that through Work Number now. So, I feel like a lot of times the hiring manager contacting you is actually asking better questions. As far as the ethics are concerned, the only real thing that comes up for me is, well, what if they call the person's current boss who doesn't know that they're looking?
Yeah, that's a big no-no.
I don't know anyone that's ever done that. I know people that called me as a peer of the person and said, I also know y'all's boss. I'm deliberately not calling. I know you're friendly with this person, so give me the dope. At least a couple times people are like, I'm actively trying not to get this person in trouble, but I need to know what's really happening here. So that was my take. But my big thing I got roasted. I've been roasted on this more than once. I don't care. I don't have time to care. If someone backdoor reference checks me, would I want, if I was advising a company on their hiring practices, would I encourage it? No. I would encourage them to build a reference checking process that gets them the information that they want to get and put it in front of their legal team to make sure they're not going to run afoul of problems. But I live in the real world where it's reputation management. Like, we should be managing our reputations all the time. What's the difference between if I call someone 2 weeks before they apply for a job and if I call them to learn more about, I heard about Susie might be a good product manager. I would love to know about Susie. What's the difference between if I do it then and if I do it 2 weeks after they've applied?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. So, I think, first of all, regardless how anybody feels about it, it's still going to happen.
Yes.
As much coaching or however you want to word backdoor. I mean, I've seen it happen where it's really like two people running in the same circles for industry reasons. They know each other. They're going to call each other. Cold calls are a little more difficult, but I mean, it's going to happen. And to your point, like, I don't know if I have any skeletons to hide. Like, go ahead and, call some former people. I will also say, like, I would find it almost more rare for those calls to be extremely negative. Don't hire this person. They were like, usually people will be very professional in the way that they address those questions too, and identifying strengths. They'd work better in this environment.
I've been called about somebody that I never want to work with ever again. And I quantified it. I didn't say I never want to work with this person ever again. I did say I think this and this was challenging in our environment, and that would be better. So if that's what you got, if it's not, then you might want to talk to them about those factors and make sure how you feel about them. But yeah, I've been backdoor reference checked by somebody I didn't like, or about somebody I didn't like. Another topic that I'm almost tired of hearing about is reverse recruiting. This one is, to me, insidious. I'm going to lead with it's insidious, in my opinion. Can we talk about like what reverse recruiting is, and is it good? Is it bad? What people should look out for? What really is this stuff? So how do you think of reverse recruiting?
I mean, I don't know anybody who's had a success in doing it, or really anybody who has rolled it out. I did just hear from a former recruiter who said, and his model was a little bit different, of really just creating a target list. And then I don't even know if he does outreach for them, this job, the client job seeker, as far as, marketing them to potential companies. But I think reverse recruiting is essentially that, of being able, I guess, from an activity standpoint of.
Yeah, let's back it up. So you're getting to what I understand. So, and I've researched a few of these places. So the idea behind reverse recruiting is that if a recruiter like Kelli is getting paid by a client to go and find the right person to fill whatever job, then why not apply that same model to a person that is advocating for the candidate, going and shopping that candidate around in ways that we'll talk about in a minute. And then if the person gets hired by one of those places, they get paid a percentage of the pay of the person's first year salary. What I have seen when I looked at this is that a lot of the people were trying to couch this as reverse recruiting and career coaching, which may or may not be the thing. I think that there is a blend of stuff, but the problem is that the way reverse recruiting is happening is unethical AF. So we talked earlier about how auto apply is a problem for many reasons, including one I learned about from fellow career coach, former executive recruiter, Gina Riley, who says on the back end, the systems can tell whenever a bunch of applications are coming in from the same IP. And if you are getting blocked, It's upstream because they don't want stuff from the Sprout IP coming into Workday.
Yeah.
And then if you're not getting seen, it's because of that. It's not because you didn't have the right keywords. But the idea is that we're going to get you ready and understand your positioning and what you're targeting for. And then this person is going to go apply on your behalf for roles. There's a few problems with that. Number one, a lot of times they're using auto apply tools. They're promising to apply for anywhere from 20 to 100 jobs in a week, which means they have to be using auto apply tools,
right,
which are problematic. They can't be customizing. The other thing is every application I've ever seen says that I am verifying that I am filling this out like under penalty of fraud, perjury. Like it can say penalty of perjury when you apply for the federal government or something like that. So you're lying, you're misrepresenting. It's for like, it could be called fraud or identity theft or just a really bad idea. And it's not effective. So that's my
the biggest part, right? I'm just trying to understand. Listen, like I know everybody wants a shortcut. They feel frustrated because they're not getting anywhere in their job search. So hey, like let me go hire somebody to do it for me. But really, like, and it's almost like the better investment is the career coach who helps you with clarity, who helps you identify what those companies are, and then you are taking the action to represent yourself accurately to these companies.
Earlier this afternoon, I did a webinar on using AI the right way in your job search and talking about some of this nonsense at scale versus strategic approaches. And the two things that I said are, number one, most people that are using AI right now are not doing a job search. They're doing busy work masquerading as a job search. And that the work that matters the most to make you successful is the work that you're avoiding. So that's having conversations with people. That's getting clear on what you're doing. That is narrowing down instead of trying to be broad. I do think, though, that the service of if you have someone, if you have either been able to articulate a career target, a job search target to someone, or you've worked with a coach or a mentor or a friend to help develop one, and then someone is able to pull target companies for you, like go and search for, especially if you want small companies, that could be a valuable service. That is something I think is pro. And then you can say, here's my top 25 B2B fintech SaaS, series A through C, and then you can go forth. That is useful. If you run across someone offering that service and they do a job, like take them up on that, but don't let them apply for you. So
it's so risky.
Have you heard... This is going around like wildfire right now. I first saw it on TikTok. There's a story going around. It's the first place I saw it was TikTok, but it was like a screen clip of Reddit. Someone going into a job interview and being asked by the interviewer, give this prompt to ChatGPT, which basically is based on everything that you know about me from me using you. Tell me the summary of my personality and whether I fit this job.
What?
This is, I think it's an I think it's an urban legend. But have you heard about this?
No, I don't have TikTok. I missed out on all this.
I've had people DM me this no less than 20 times in the last 10 days.
What?
Saying, have you seen this? Have you seen this? And I've been looking for it. And I cannot find where any human with a name is actually bringing receipts that this happens. It sounds like bullshit off of Reddit. But
not on Reddit. Get out of here.
I mean, I get some good information off Reddit, but this
doesn't
I do too. On the list.
I mean, what kind of company would do that? Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, listen, nothing shocks me now of what goes on. So maybe it happened. I don't understand what the objective is.
I think I don't know, save $50 on giving an actual personality assessment that's designed for use in hiring is my guess. So y'all, if you've been hearing this, if you are one of the 20 people that has been in my DMs and probably 50 more by the time we publish this episode in a few weeks, here's my take. Number one, I have no reason to believe that this actually is happening at all. Number two, if it's happening, it's not happening at scale.
No.
And number three, you can always end the interview. And I would encourage you to. If anybody asks you to do this, you do not want to work there. Drive Uber or be a Walmart greeter if you have to buy food.
Yeah.
That is unethical. It is indefensible in hiring. If someone got pulled in for like a wrongful, discrimination in hiring suit, and this was part of their hiring process, they would be shirmed out of existence. Like they would basically end up with a verdict against them. There's nothing defensible about that. So stop worrying about it, but because I don't think it's happening, but if it does, exit immediately.
Yeah. So. Signal to exit.
Another one is last one before we start to close is recruiter scams. So one of the biggest ones happening right now is recruiter reaches out to somebody on LinkedIn, usually with a pretty green banner that says open to work, and says, you look great for something, give me your resume, send your resume in, and then you get back, you're a great fit, but your resume doesn't pass ATS. You need to go over here to whoever, Upwork, Fiverr, some random person, and pay for resume optimization. I did a podcast breaking this down, but that was me, I'm not a recruiter. What are some things about that whole process that's happening that's one of the most common scams that are telltale this is not legit?
Yeah, I would think like in general too, if a recruiter's working with you, they might, I know some recruiters who will even offer to be like, I'm just going to make some changes to your resume, which
right.
I would ask just to see what that final product look like if they're going to do it. Or they might ask you to make some changes if it needs to be customized, but I don't know any recruiter, and this should never be sending you to a third party where you're paying a fee for anything. That is a huge
it also
red
shouldn't
flag.
be, I do resumes on the side and you're going to pay me to do it.
Yeah, that's slimy.
That's unethical.
100%. So. Yeah, that's like a bait and switch right there. So yeah, I would say in general, anybody who's asking to send you to any kind of third party for an extra service to be basically move forward in a process is a huge red flag. I would also check, profile. Who are they? If you can determine the LinkedIn history, when the account was created. Typically, I've done so much as to go track like the IP or the domain name and when the domain was created. Yeah. There's a lot of ways to kind of just figure it out. But in general, like if you're unsure, maybe go find your trusted tech friend and ask them if maybe it's legit. If you're feeling icky about it, it probably is.
Yeah, there's a lot. This is real icky. My hallmarks are no recruiter is going to ask you money or send you to a friend to pay something to move forward. Now, if they say, you seem like you have a cool background, your resume needs more work than I have time to do, and you say, thank you, how do you recommend I proceed? And they send you to a reputable, vetted, with reviews person, or even better, 3 people. If I was a recruiter, I would say, here are 3 people that I think could help you if I was going to recommend anyone. But if they're only sending you to one option and they're not giving you enough information that you can direct that option on what to do, that's a problem too. That's scam. So
yeah, I would even ask, like, what is it about my resume that needs changing? If these people are just hustling, they probably didn't even look at your profile or resume to begin with.
That is, in fact, the most obvious thing that I did not bring up. That's so important, Kelly, because I had so many people have 50 versions of their resume because they've been told they have to update it every single time when they apply. Pros and cons to that. We're not going to get into that today, but they feel like they've tweaked it to death. So when someone tells them they need to change it again, they both believe it and they're dismayed by it. So it's ripe to scam someone. I had a client get taken by it, Kelly.
I have a very well-versed technology friend who said he almost fell for it too.
My client fell for it, and she ended up, the person was sent her to Fiverr, and she paid for it because she was just got laid off, like the whole nine. And then she messaged me and I said, that's a scam. She got her money back from Fiverr. So that was a good deal, but yeah, bad deal. Well, I got 2 lightning round questions and then we're going to close.
Okay.
So the first one is, what's the worst piece of career advice you've ever received?
All right. I'm going to actually trickle back to something. I'm going to parlay it a little bit to the follow your passion. And I think, I don't even know if it was advice, but it was really, I was sent off to college to kind of figure my life out, right? And figure a college track out. And, I figured it out. It was fine. But I think, I think I was really like pursuing things of interest. And I think now, especially as I have kids who are getting ready to, it's a little bit further behind, but thinking as far as when you're pursuing school and really what tracks are going to be marketable, after college, especially now, I think that we can't, and listen, like interests are very important, right? Like,
yes,
you can 100% go do something that you hate, but I think it's also important to factor in that you're learning skills that are going to be marketable and needed in the market.
And the skill, like there can be nuance to it. One of the absolute best product managers that I know, tech product manager, principal level, studied journalism. Highly like most people would be like, it should have been an MBA or it should have been, if she's technical, it should have been comp sci or something. But she learned how to dig at a problem. So sometimes there can be translation, but knowing some of the options is really important. Thank you for that. The last one is what is something you've changed your mind about fairly recently?
Ooh, something I've changed my mind about. I think I'm going to go, well, and it's something that I had waffled on for a while, where I was a big fan of when people would put interests and hobbies on their resume, and I loved it. And I was like, oh, it gives them personality, it humanizes them. And now I'm like such the bias police because I see so much of it happening all the time where I kind of waffled back and I'm like, and it can work for you either positively or negatively when you're including hobbies on your resume. So now I'm I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are.
I think a couple things. Number one is this is one of those things where you don't have to have your LinkedIn and resume match. Like you want all the dates for your jobs to match, but if you want to list a hobby, or sometimes the issue is a volunteer activity that you're trying to squeeze onto a resume that may or may not add value and it represents a hobby. Like I think that if you err on the side of leaving it off your resume, but it's important to either showing the values that you have or there's some relevant skill or exposure you got, then put it on LinkedIn. I don't know that reading and gardening as hobbies make much sense on a resume unless you are applying to do something in the agricultural space or in like a literature or book or publishing space, but then everybody is going to have that. So that's my take. I think that people worry about bias a lot on things like that, and they don't realize how much bias can be read in by the wrong kind of person on just the regular professional resume stuff.
It's true.
Like we can only limit bias so much while still accurately reflecting our background. So I don't encourage people to put interests on there. I do encourage people to put values aligned activities that showcase something important about them.
I agree.
Two of my favorites are, number one is Girl Scout Cookie Mom.
Oh God, worst job ever. No, I'm kidding.
It's horrible. That's why putting it on there, but especially if you're trying to apply for something that involves dealing with other people and detail orientation, if you were the Girl Scout Cookie Mom for a couple, 3 years, come on, or cookie parent, sorry. Don't mean to imply only women can do it. It's a lot. And then another one that weirdly gets good reactions is Eagle Scout, or like
Eagle Scout. I still see it on like
Girl Scouts,
senior level professionals that still have Eagle Scout on their resume.
And I think it's fine.
I do too. I'm
Because that showed like a community commitment very early on.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so I think it's fine. But if you look at it and you're like, I don't want to talk about Scotty, and you can leave it off. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much, Kelli, for coming and doing this. I hope that we educated the people that are looking for a job or maybe on some of this crazy scams and what the hell is sourcing and just how recruiting works, since everyone on LinkedIn thinks they know and they don't actually know. All right. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.